Hello and welcome to our program, ladies and gentlemen. We've been hearing about a technical discussion between the IMF and Ethiopian authorities concerning on how to best address humanitarian and economic challenges in Ethiopia. To give us more insight on this issue, I am now joined by Ethiopia's Finance Minister Ahmed Shide here in the studio. Welcome to studio.
Thank you for having me.
As I said earlier, we've been hearing that there is an ongoing technical discussion between IMF and Ethiopian authorities on how to address economic and humanitarian challenges, as well as funding requests on the side of Ethiopia. How do you address this issue?
Thank you very much. Yes, Ethiopian authorities have started a technical discussion with IMF team in preparation for a program. And as you know, we had a long-standing partnership with IMF and World Bank and other international development partners, and they have been supporting Ethiopia's growth and development in many occasions. And we also used to have also an IMF program just a few years back. It has been halted as a result of some issues, particularly since the peace agreement in the north has been signed and the peace agreement has been consistently being implemented. The outlook for consolidation of peace has been strengthened, and also Ethiopia is also working on reconstruction, recovery, as well as addressing some of the challenges of its macroeconomy. For that, we have been discussing with a lot of international development partners, including IMF, World Bank, and others. So Ethiopia is expecting, as Ethiopia moves and consolidates toward peace, and the reconstruction and recovery requires significant effort. And we believe these multiple challenges, both domestic and international, in addition to our leadership, our own concerted effort, we need our partners' support. So Ethiopia has reached out to our development partners, and we had an ongoing discussion with World Bank in terms of how growth enhancing infrastructure and other budget support programs to be resumed with development with World Bank, which is going positively, and we expect World Bank also to support Ethiopia's recovery and reconstruction, as well as to support Ethiopia in addressing its macroeconomic imbalances. And also to support Ethiopia in terms of development and economic transformation. Currently, we are working on homegrown economic reform 2, which is going to evaluate the performance of the previous homegrown economic reform, the additional challenges that have hit become a challenge to the economy for the last few years, and the success of the previous reform, and the current imbalance and how to address that macroeconomic imbalance. So that homegrown economic reform 2 is going to be a basis of our discussion between us and development partners. In addition to that, Ethiopia has applied for common framework for debt reprofiling, which is going smoothly. Alongside a technical discussion with IMF, the common framework G20 discussion is also continuing. China and France is co-chairing. Various technical meeting has been happening by creditor committee. So we are also working on that line. So the discussion with IMF currently is a technical one. It's a technical discussion that is in preparation for a program.
What are really the specific elements of that technical discussion? Can we mention that?
Well, the analysis regarding the economic performance will be done. For example, real sector discussion will be done in terms of growth potential, real sector growth on agriculture, on industry, on services. All real sector activities will be evaluated and discussed. Monetary sector will be discussed in terms of the saving in the banking sector, credit to the private sector, credit to the economy will be discussed. In terms of public finance, the whole revenue issues will be discussed. Government spending and deficit financing and how the deficit financing is going to be done will be discussed. And also balance of payment will be discussed in terms of export, import, all different inflows and outflows in terms of balance of payment will be discussed. And baseline scenario and projection will be made. And then that will also evolve toward this policy discussions, which is in preparation for program design. And once the program is fully agreed, then Ethiopia will be able to access a significant amount of financing from IMF as part of support to macroeconomic reform and to address also the macroeconomic challenges, along with the policy measures that will be agreed.
Do we probably expect a kind of policy change on the side of the Ethiopian government as a result of the ongoing technical discussion?
Any policy discussion will be based on our own policy objectives of homegrown economic reform number 2, and that program is being designed currently and almost being finalized. And once it is endorsed by the government, all those policy reform objectives within our own homegrown economic reform will be the basis of a discussion with all development partners for potential implementation of the reform. So this is our reform, this is our policies, and all the partner discussion will be done based on that, and the detail will be disclosed in the future.
Perfect. Ethiopia, I think, looks forward to have like 20 billion USD to rehabilitate the northern Ethiopia, which was ravaged by the 2-year conflict, and 10 billion USD for the homegrown economic reform to implement that for the future. Are those figures rough estimations, or do you recognize those estimations as a Ministry of Finance?
We have designed a national program called Resilient Recovery and Reconstruction Program, which is going to address conflict-affected areas all over the country, Tigray, Amhara, Afar, part of Oromia, and also part of Benishangul, as well as Konso zone in southern region. We have been doing a comprehensive assessment in terms of the damage and the losses that have occurred because of the war and the conflict that has erupted in the north, and also it is impact in some part of other in some areas in other part of the country. So overall assessment has been completed, and given the preliminary estimation based on the assumptions we have, we need around $20 billion recovery and reconstruction financing need for the coming 5 years. This is a 5-year need to recover, and Ethiopia is already using its own resources when it comes to recovery and reconstruction. For example, in Amhara region, most of the telecom infrastructure has been fully restored. In Afar region, all the telecom infrastructure which was damaged by the war has been restored. Electricity has been restored. Universities which has been affected by this, they have started their normal work. So we have been doing this already, and a lot of public enterprises were implementing this. The regional government was implementing, federal government was implementing this. In Tigray, recently after the peace agreement, essential basic service has been fully restored. Telecom has been fully restored, banking sector has been fully restored, energy has been fully restored, and now with the transitional interim administration in place, we are going to have substantive discussion in terms of how to address also other basic restoration of basic service like education, health and water related facilities, and also re-establishing various government services of district zones, municipality services has to be restored. So this is a national program involving all affected areas, which is going to be implemented for the coming 5 years, and there will be a big conference which is going to be chaired by the Prime Minister to disclose this in the presence of all the regional government as well as also development partners. So we are going to have a discussion on that one. We will partly finance from our resources, but we need to mobilize huge resources from the public, from diaspora, as well as from our development partners. And in terms of the assessment and designs of the program, particularly World Bank has been supporting us in terms of technically leading this assessment and the program design, together with the Ministry of Finance and other sector ministries. So yes, Ethiopia is going to continue to implement this huge program, which is very important. In addition to consolidating peace, resilient recovery and reconstruction will be a basic national program which government is going to implement, again with the support of development partners. We expect a very significant partner support for this. And this is very important for the peace dividend, because peace should be translated into development gains for all actors in society. And that's why peace dividend is important. That's why government is doing. So now, once the interim administration in Tigray is now restored, there will be a lot of work ahead. So this work will continue to be implemented in Tigray, in Amhara, in Afar, in Oromia, in Benishangul, and in part of southern region as well, in Konso area. In addition to that, we are going to work with our development partners, both IMF and World Bank, and other bilateral and multilateral partners, in terms of we need their support for sustaining deepening our economic reform, and also to address the macroeconomic challenges we are currently having, so that Ethiopia will continue on the path of sustainable and rapid development, to enhance and diversify the source of growth, and to attract private sector as a basic actor in development, so that we will do a lot of reform to that effect. And this will build significantly the recovery and the reconstruction. In terms of politically, national dialogue will be conducted by Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission to address the differences within political actors and society in Ethiopia, so that unity will be maintained, national consensus will be reached on the future course of the country, so that the country will only move towards law enforcement, constitutional order. Any political engagement in the future should only be conducted through legal and political means. Transition of power can only happen through legal and constitutional democratic means, so that we can build an orderly society as well as institutionalized state. That's very important, both for coexistence, for unity, for development, to attract investment. So Ethiopia will continue on this direction, and strengthening of Ethiopia in terms of national unity, institution building, economic recovery, and addressing the macroeconomic challenge is also very important for the globe, because Ethiopia is a big country in the region, neighboring a lot of countries, strategically an anchor for the stability in the Horn of Africa. So unity, stability comprehensively is very important. So Ethiopia will move forward to consolidate peace, to advance its reform and national unity, so that it addresses the demand of its own society, but also to contribute significantly to the regional peace and regional economic integration.
Lastly, be it IMF or World Bank, before they provide any assistance, either in the form of assistance or debt, they consider a number of macroeconomic indicators in any given country. How do you rate Ethiopia's position after ending the northern conflict in terms of securing loans from those international partners?
First of all, the peace agreement for the conflict in the north is very historic agreement, and the direct beneficiary of this agreement is not only those societies which has been directly affected by the conflict, but all the people of Ethiopia are beneficiary of this peace agreement. The prospect of Ethiopia in terms of sustainability of peace and for rule of law, for investors' confidence, it has significantly increased. So now, even during challenging period during the war, there has been significant investment towards the country. For example, the Safaricom investment, which is almost $1 billion investment, has happened just during the conflict. That shows how international investors see Ethiopia's ability to overcome its own domestic challenges. And Ethiopia has also demonstrated to the world that even though it has passed through a difficult moment, it can also address through its own means toward this peace, toward this coexistence. In fact, with the support of African Union and other major global actors has also supported it. We are very thankful to that. But overall, the resilience of the Ethiopian state, the resilience of the Ethiopian economy has been demonstrated to the world, that Ethiopia is one of the most stronger states within the global order in overcoming this mega huge challenge which has happened. And this has happened in addition to external challenges, like the conflict in Ukraine has significantly impacted our economy. Corona has significantly impacted our economy. We had significant drought. We had significant flood. We had desert locust. All those multiple challenges we have been able to overcome through resilience, through the reform we have been able to implement, through the leadership, the consistent leadership, which has maintained multiple focus at the same time in many aspects of the state. All ongoing projects and programs, mega project, was being implemented smoothly, even during this conflicting period. All the services, in terms of government services, be it at local, at national level, was intact. The bureaucracy at the national level was intact. So this shows the bondage within Ethiopians are very big and deep, and the institutions are also very resilient. That's why we were able also to overcome the conflict in the north and move towards a durable peace. And this peace has also signaled to the world that Ethiopia can able to overcome its own domestic challenge as a responsible actor as part of international order. And this has been appreciated by all major actors. For example, the Foreign Minister of America, the State Secretary of America was here, the Chinese Foreign Minister was here, European Foreign Ministers was here. We have a lot of international visitors as part of African Union mission. All the leaders consistently has praised the peace agreement and also praised what Ethiopia was able to achieve during these difficult times. The Prime Minister made it clear yesterday that everyone visiting Addis Ababa are very much impressed with the level of economic activities, with the level of investment, with the projects we have able to implement to transform cities, to attract investment, to build mega infrastructure. And this all was happening at the same time we had a challenge of war in the north. Now the peace agreement has significantly improved the economic prospect of Ethiopia, with it the prospect of investors' confidence. And this is very important, so we have to move forward in consolidating our peace, in consolidating our national unity, and we need to advance resilient recovery and reconstruction. Thank you.
Thanks for your elaboration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been hearing our discussion here with the Finance Minister Ahmed Shide concerning the ongoing technical discussion between IMF and Ethiopian authorities on top of other economic issues. Thanks for being with us.